Wealth is defined as my legacy being legendary, hereditary. I know you see me feeding my seeds, killing these weeds with determination, germination, purpose never vacant. I said at elevation, meditation, upward, universal guidance, most high to provide the substance, trying to reside within abundance. Lunches, dinner, and breakfast. The feeling of my stomach's essential, easing the hunger pains is the issue. So focus.
Go, go, get it, go, 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 go, get it, go, go, get it, go,
Yo, what's up? This Big Boxx.
Lil Boxx.
Yeah. So this is pilot number 3, and welcome to Connis Universe of the Autism. It's Big Boxx.
Lil Boxx.
All right, and getting right into it, where we left off, son. We left off basically what it was. So we stopped in 3rd, 4th grade.
Yeah.
So now we in 5th, 6th grade. So that's 2017, 2018, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So 2017, 2018, 2019. I know this was a critical year for you, period. I know this is where a lot of things started coming into play, and we started noticing that you really were on the spectrum. This is when you started confronting me about different things, and I really started feeling like you had no filter then. And I started understanding you as an individual, and we started communicating more, and I made promises to you, and you said prayers, and you asked God for certain things, and God honored a lot of things you asked, because now where we at till this day as a family, as a whole, and in general, a lot of the things you really wanted and you really prayed for, your siblings as well, it's come to play, right?
I agree. I'm even glad I even made the prayer.
I'm glad you made the prayer too, because it made me start analyzing and rerouting a lot of my direction and my focus as well. And I wasn't paying attention to how much I was in the rat race and grinding and trying to get it, that I wasn't present enough here for you and your brother and your sisters like I should have been, and your mom. You know, sometimes we get caught up in, as parents, is thinking it's providing for you is more important than being present. And the state where you were in then, I had no idea until I think that was 2018, when you really broke down, cried, and you told me everything that really started happening to you in the 4th grade. And I think this was your 5th grade year. Yeah, like 2018, 19 year. I think that's when it was. So now we can go into more about your 5th grade, 6th grade year.
Oh yes, the year before when the world shut down.
Yeah, we can go ahead and talk about it.
Okay, so 5th grade. I think I had the same teachers from 6th grade. It was the same teachers I had back in 4th grade. I was able to socialize with Stephen and Easter more, and I kind of goofed off a little bit, and it basically I was starting to hate school a little because the boredom it may have, but now I'm starting to like school.
Okay. We can speak more into your experiences. I know it's kind of might be a little rough for you to go into and talk into that, because I see you kind of getting fidgety, you rocking and stuff. So I know it's kind of hard for you to think about a lot of that stuff, because it was a lot of hurtful times. But if you can revisit those days of being social with different people, not fitting in, going through what you was going through. Also, when we had the meeting and accepted the aspect of, okay, you may be on the spectrum, you first understanding what being high functioning on the spectrum was, having autism. I think the listeners may want to hear more because the parents are really going to be listening to this to kind of see if they can connect more with their child that is on the spectrum, that's not as vocal as you, don't have as many opinions as you, not as communicative as you. And then also for the kids that may be listening, or the teenagers that may be listening as well, to get a full understanding how they can step up to the plate and do what you have done, or they can even provide you advice on how they've overcame and how they've adapted and how they've moved, because some have gone on to college, some have gone on, got married, some have gone, has families, etc. So let's get more into how was it in the 5th, 6th grade years. So I think what that should have ranged from like 2018 to 2020, those basic years. You see what I'm saying? So can we kind of get more to know you then? Like a lot of what you went through, a lot of the times you cried, a lot of the times you didn't really talk to us as much, a lot of the times you didn't tell us as much when we started learning what you were going through. Talk about those type of things. It's your talk show, it's your podcast, so we have like a hot 10 minutes. So this is now when you're getting into the meat and potatoes of your introduction to you, because that is like your how do you say it in comic books? What's the name of it? Your origin story.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like your origin story at this point. So those years is your origin stories. That's when you started coding. That's when you started getting in depth with your comic books for real, for real. That's when you really started identifying and understanding and researching yourself what autism was, what the spectrum was. That's when you really noticed socially you weren't getting along with everybody. This when you kind of went through your bullying, when people were bullying you, and etc. So you have to expound on that. It's time for you to talk now. Go ahead.
Okay. Let's talk about 5th grade.
Okay.
So it was basic. It was just a simple basic year. I met some new people, enemies, and met a lot of homework too. So when I realized that I was actually on the spectrum, I was kind of surprised. But still, I didn't know how I got autism, and now it's still kind of a mystery to me. And that's when the bullying comes in. When they first realized that I've been acting so different all these years, they kind of start thinking that I was some sort of laughing stock dummy. So I tried my best to avoid them. So there was even one girl named sorry.
No, you don't have to say nobody names. We're not saying no names. Come on.
Alright, there were some people who was cursing at me, and some were just trying to manipulate me to use me for their own advantages. I didn't even realize that they were just simply using me. Until one of my friends became friends with the other bully, and it kind of really upset me a lot.
Okay. All right. So I remember those times and when we had to start teaching you and understanding personal space. Remember, we had to go through the process of teaching you how to differentiate people's faces, people's attitudes, people's moods. Remember us going through all those things. So this was all around that time, right? And I can say my hat's off to you, son. You've come a long way to recognizing those things. Because I remember you didn't know what was funny, what wasn't funny. And at one time we used to think if you had emotions, and then you turned out to be one of the most kind-hearted, loving people I've ever met in my life. You know, but you go ahead, finish going. This is your floor. This is when you're really talking about your origin story. Okay.
Alright. I want to talk about 6th grade now.
Okay, so you have nothing else you really got to say about 5th grade?
No, not now.
Okay.
The school year where the world completely fell apart.
So 2019, 2020 year, right?
Yes, we had to start doing home video. The Zoom, I was kind of disappointed because I thought I'd be free from the school forever because of the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
I thought I was gonna be free. And so I guess the homeschool gig was kinda okay. I kinda slept a bit. I things started to get buggy with my Chromebook, and especially I got to go to private rooms on the Zoom. I didn't even know it had that kind of behavior on Zoom. I know some people still use it, especially when COVID-19's around. So I'm glad we got quarantined by the virus. It's because it it was 10 times deadly. I didn't want to meet the same fate like those other people out there.
Yeah, I know.
And when I remember this time, I was going to this field trip at a place called Kate Skates. But the one in India Trail had this strange disease, was infected by this strange disease called E. coli.
E. coli.
I didn't even know what that stuff was. So we had to go one. So we have to go to a different location of it.
Okay.
And I kind of barely had any fun there. And basically I kept doing every virtual Zoom every day. And sometimes I just want to take a day off. Because just all school is for me annoying, bored, it's sometimes not very entertaining for my point of view.
From your point of view, okay, all right. So how do we get? Around this time, this is when you were really knee deep in your coding and video games. So you already was doing that. So you could talk a little bit about your video games as well. Don't get too much details because we're still working on it. So you could speak on it, but speak on it in general. Okay.
Okay. I heard I've been interested in video games. I'm a total video game nerd. I like the newer games that's been coming out, but I don't mind playing the classics, including the retro stuff. I have been playing a lot, and I kinda like how the 80s and the 90s do their own coding game systems. So I thought to myself that I should create that kind of stuff too. So that's why I was doing this little secret prototype game called Super Micro on this really extremely good flow lab on this cool game website called Flow Lab.
Okay.
It's a guess what? It's a no coding game engine. So I didn't even realize it. I watched some tutorials and it turned out to be good and sometimes it turned out to be glitched up.
Yeah.
And that's why I started to make my future indie game that will be coming out sometime this year or next year. Tropical Dog: The Big Adventure.
Okay.
It's planned to be a 2D HD platformer game inspired by these retro games from the 90s, including one of them now, Super Mario World, Kirby's Adventure, Cool Spot, and Cuphead.
Okay. Yeah.
And I already had the whole story figured out for it, but I can't give away too much info about it. But since I'm using the full-out game engine, alright. I made my first tropical dog prototype called Tropical Dot: The Big Adventure Prototype 2020. It's one of the earliest builds of my game.
All right, now we can leave it like that, and where we're gonna leave off is he's gonna be coming in with the next episode or the fourth pilot with the introduction to Lil Boxx, and we're gonna finish it off, wrap it up, and then we'll come at you with our next segments. Okay? So it's Big Boxx.
Lil Boxx, thanks for tuning in.
Yes, sir. One life, one love, one God. Be royalty.
Boxx-A-Million.
Boxx-A-Million. Boxx-A-Million.
Mighty Lion of Judah.